All right, here we go. So in your email, I sent to you a file. It should look like this, right? Did y'all get it? All right, so I'm going to download, yes.
For some reason, I don't know why it's not showing me that I have a grade for my SEM exam, and I turned it in like a few days ago.
I don't know. We'll talk about that when we get a break here. Um, so download it and open it up. And I don't know why I always get this enable editing thing. Does yours look like this? Good. All right, so you can see it's a file. It has the name of the file section. Oh, so here's what I want you to do is save it with your section number, and this is section 04, and your last name, and then just leave course project in there. So you're going to be using this file for the rest of the semester to collect your data, to create charts and graphs, and do all kinds of fun things with it. So um, I am going to go ahead and save my file. I save it to the cloud. Remember we talked about the cloud? Did you see the notice on the door out there? It said that they're going to be erasing all the profiles of these desktops. Um, I will read it to you. They've running out of space. Just get more terabytes.
Everything's upgradable now.
Well, more terabytes, then they'll raise your fees, and that would be a terrible bite. So um, uh, I save it to the cloud. That way I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff unless the cloud somehow disappears on me. And I have it buried way down in my cloud. And this is section. I need a new folder. 04. So I'm creating a special folder just for you guys. And so I'm going to put in here 04, my last name, which is D Young, and course project. It's very hard having the name D Young, by the way. It's having a space in your name, having two names. Everybody calls me Young, or they think my first name is D, or my first initial is D. Um, the computer databases are always like, no, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have you in our database. And I was like, did you put the space between the E and the Y? And they're like, let me try that. Oh, there you are. It's like, it's, um, yeah.
But it was like a whole band in the 80s and 70s, right? Sticks.
Sticks. Oh, yeah. Dennis DeYoung. Yep. No relation, unfortunately. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so this is
So, how do you save it?
I mean, like, I know how to save it, but, like, it's not allowing me to save it correctly.
What do you mean save it correctly?
So I'm putting in my last name in lieu of last names. And,
Okay, so we are going to work through this worksheet, and we're going to use my example. Now it's time to you've done the cause and effect diagram, and now it's time to translate that into data. Like, what are you going to do with that? Like, how are you going to see if you're making progress? How are you going to see if the things that you're trying, the solutions that you think might work, have a real impact or not? So this is kind of the way to do this, and I set this up to help you, guide you through it. So you're going to write in your first name and last name, the title of your project. I don't know if you have a title yet. I have a title for mine. I'm going to call this the Fitness and Weight Optimization Project. It's not weight loss, it's weight optimization. That's what we say in corporate America is, you know, you don't want to improve something, you have to optimize it. Sounds fancy, fancier. Okay, so before I go any further, I can't remember everything that I put down in my cause and effect diagram, and I don't want to have to keep looking at it. So I'm going to just stick it in here, and um, you can do that too. There's a few different ways that you can insert it. Do you remember when you set the picture to me and you created a file? So you could either do it that way, um, and you would go to your insert tab, and then over here where it says pictures, you would click on that, and then wherever you had saved it. Um, I don't know where I my picture is, but I do know. Actually, I do know where it is, and I inserted it into the PowerPoint right here. So I'm just going to copy it. That's just another way to do it. I'm going to right click on that and copy it and go back to the Excel spreadsheet. And it needs to be around here. And then go back to the Home tab. Actually, I can just right click on it and then click paste. And there it is. It's a little too big, so I need to size it. And I'm going to stick it up there. I'm going to drag on the handle down at the bottom right and put it right about there. And I can get rid of this little black bar on the bottom. I'm just going to crop it and just drag that up. And then click outside, and there it is. Now I can make this a little bit bigger. So I can't really see what's going on here, so I'm going to go back and blow this up, and I want to stick to just this. There we go. Okay, so now we have the fitness and weight optimization project, and I can look over at the cause and effect diagram, also known as the what? Fishbone. And also, he's the man who created it. It was used in Japan. Ishikawa. That's it. Yeah, Ishikawa. I think it says right on there. Sometimes the answers are right there, by the way. My friend is a physician, and he teaches other physicians. He's like a barometric. He's an emergency room barometric pressure guy, and he teaches other physicians. And he was telling me he goes in the room and he says, "I'm going to be giving you a test, and but I want you to know that the answers are on the slides that are right in front of right in front of you, and so the answers are right in front of you, and they still get it wrong. These are physicians, trained physicians." So just sometimes just have to listen to the instructions. Um, so we're going to look at the picture here and um, describe the current situation. In my case, all right, so I'm about 20 pounds above my optimal weight. All right, and so that's the current situation. The desired goal is sort of the flip side of it. So what does good look like? What's my vision of my goal? Well, I need to get down to about 205 pounds, and I would say reach an improved fitness level. So you could be doing the same thing with yours as we're going through here, because this is also due on Sunday night. Will be your this database. Um, so that's it, right? So these are just sort of two sides of the same coin. Here's a problem. Here's what good looks like. So now now what? Any questions so far? Nope. Makes sense.
So our project can be anything that we want.
Anything.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be what we put on the fish diagram because what I put was coffee or something like.
That was a class example. What are some examples? What are people working on in here? Just shout them out. Time management. Okay. What else? Meditation. What else? Body fat percentage. Some people do sleep. Um, there are some folks that have. There's another student that has a auto purchasing and sale business, and he's using that. He's going to track sales. So it could be either something that you manage, which is generally at your age yourself, or it could be your business if you want. So it just depends. Just think about something that's important to you that you really would like to change and get some measurable improvement because this is a data analysis class. Um, so here's a picture here, and we need to do a little bit. So I think we have gone through this fishbone diagram, and we'll take a look at it again. But there's a whole bunch of information on here. I probably should blow this up so we can move over to it so we can see it a little better. Yes. All right. So uh, remember we talked about the driving forces and the restraining forces. Some of your classmates talked about, things that are pushing you in the direction that you want to go, like what's motivating you to get to that solution. Then those are important to think of, as well as the restraining forces, which, those are the kind of the root causes of what is, what there are some root causes is what's driving you towards your goal, and then there are some things that are preventing you from getting towards your goal, right? So we're all sort of we are where we are because we're in the state of this is Kurt Levine's words, a state of quasi-stationary equilibrium. You know what that means? We're all sort of like semi stuck in where we are, and when we want to change, we have to do something to knock yourself off balance, right? To move you in the right direction. And that's called, once you get momentum, it's easy to do, but it's hard. So how do you get some momentum? You need to think about those things that are going to push you in that direction, and then also break down the barriers of those things that are preventing you from getting there. So I've done all this, and there's a whole bunch of things on here, and I can't track all this stuff. I just want to get down to what are called the critical few, right? Because our problems caused by usually just one thing? No. Like there's multiple things, and some things are, but and they don't all have the same equal impact, right? So we'll see here in a second that some are more important than others. So you need to think about what are the things that if you could change are going to have the greatest impact. Sort of think of it as like leverage. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to circle some of these on the diagram that are I think are the most important. So I'm going to go over here to my insert and I'm going to insert a little loop here, and I'm going through here. And so I have in my, I realized after many years of living on this planet that one of the reasons why I always struggle with my weight is that I like food, right? So it kind of comes down to that, and I probably eat too much of it. So that's the primary issue, and maybe there's something that I can do about that. Oops, that's filled. So I can go over here to shape fill and click on no fill, And there we go. So that's one of the primary causes. The other is that um, time. That's an issue for me. And does anybody have issues with time? Like you would never have enough time? Yeah, time in a bottle. Yes. Um, Come here. So I'm gonna circle that one. And part of it is that I am. Come back here. Stop. Um, Part of it is that I have this busy schedule, this new job, and so I don't have as much time on my hands. So remember the five whys that we talked about. So why don't I have time? Well, no time to cook. Well, it's because I have this busy schedule. So what do you do if you don't have time? Make time. How do you make time?
Cutting things out. Sacrifice.
Cutting things out, right? So there's some things that you have to do. There's only a certain amount of hours in the day. Last time I counted, right? There's 24 hours, and there's only so much that you can do. So you have to figure out. You have to cut something out, and do that. So you'll see that's one of the solutions. The other problem is anybody eat fast food? Why do we eat fast food? It's fast. It's fast. It's convenient, right? It's so convenient, and it's getting they pretty cheap too, right? You can go to In and Out for $5. You're in and out. Although not so quickly these days. Um, so that's one of the things, and then the other is I'm addicted to the white substance, sugar. Crystal substance, sugar. Actually, no, yeah, it has the same effect, I think, because I'm pretty sure I'm addicted to it, and I blame it on my mother. She's a she's a dealer. She's a sugar pusher, you know, sugar pusher. And plus, I grew up in the '60s where everything was about convenience, and sugar was like, with sugar. They even had a cereal. They still have the cereal. It's called Sugar Smacks.
No, they call it honey.
Honey, no, it was called Sugar Smack. I mean, just blatant, and all of us kids were addicted to it. It was shaped like a coffee bean, and they had a honey bear. He was like the cool jazz dude. He was like, "Hey man, have some sugar smacks." So he was, it's hard to fight that. So anyway, so I don't know if I can do anything about that one. Um, but so these are some of the things. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, and I not having a regular schedule. That's also another thing. So if I don't have a regular schedule, to be able to exercise, what would I do? Yeah, again, make time for it and put it in your calendar. By the way, I don't think I told you guys a little bit about my background, but one of the things that I have done for a living is executive coaching. Have I mentioned that? Yeah. Do you know what executive coaching is? It's so uh, exactly coaching executives. It is executives who need help. They get to a certain point in their career and they can't get any further, and so they need to know what are what's getting in their way, and what's keeping them from getting to that next level. And so I will do that. I will help them with that. And often it's themselves getting in their own way. Things like ego or unawareness of, a lot of them are, some of them are like CEOs of companies. And if you're the top of a company, does do people tell you the truth? Do you think your people tell you the truth? They don't want you to fail, but what's that? They get intimidated by you, and right, they don't speak up often, and so CEOs often say that they say it's lonely at the top. That's why, because people don't they just don't say what's on their mind, and so and if they do tell you something, is it negative? No, it's what a great idea, boss. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Well, so that comes down to kind of like a fundamental emotion called it's called fear, right? Imagine what you could do if you didn't have fear in your life. Yeah. Maybe sometimes fear is a good thing. All right, so here's some of the root causes. I'm not gonna think about everything here. Some of these things are the driving forces, and like over here, the gym's too crowded. The gym only has one exercise bicycle, and often I can't use it because Mrs. Ginsburg's writing it for past her 30-minute allotment. So um, anyway, questions. So that's kind of like the next step is to identify the root causes. You don't have to, but just know what they are. You don't have to circle them. I just did it just to kind of make the point. Um, so now we need to move on. All right, so let's move on to your the root causes. And so Victoria asked if we needed to circle them, and actually, here's the reason why you don't have to, because I'm gonna write some of the reasons down here, and root causes are one is, so I'll summarize it here, is consuming too many calories. That's one. And you could be writing down your root causes. Another is too much fast food or, restaurants. That was a real problem when I was, so before I went out on my own, became kind of an independent consultant. I worked for these big consulting firms, and uh, I was on the road all the time, flying, to different cities, and so I was always running. So I was often eating fast food on the go, but then having to take clients out. And of course, do they want to go to a cheap restaurant? No, they want to go to because this is Deloitte, and we're sort of like a top tier consulting firm, so they want to go to the best restaurants, and be wined and dined. And so, and I never drank until I started working in consulting. So there was that too. All right, so that was it. That was an issue, and yeah, yeah. Uh, you're not supposed to. Yeah, yeah. It's not a good idea. Generally speaking, it depends how well you know the client. um, but some of the, honestly, most business is done over lunch and dinner. It's really not done, you know, in an office, at least at those levels. All right. So the other reason is too much sugar, carbs. Um, no time to cook. No tome. No time to cook. Um, yeah, meal prep. Irregular exercise schedule, lower intensity workouts because I don't know. I don't know why. Gotten lazy. All right, so now I have some root causes here, and I didn't. You don't need all of these. These are just placeholders, and now we have to figure out how am I going to fix these, right? If I'm consuming too many calories, if I think that's the root cause, what's one fix for that? Calorie deficit, right? In Weight Watchers, they call it portion control, right? Have you been to the cafeteria and looked at those little triangular signs, and they say this is how much food you should eat? Have you seen what what type of ball they say is the equivalent of the amount of food? It's like a is it a baseball? It's like a tennis ball, baseball. I guess they're about the same size. Is that normally the portion of what we get, what we eat? Yeah, really expensive restaurant. They seem there's inversely proportional to, yeah, they give you less food, or in Europe they don't give as much food. The food is good there. So one solution is um, portion control. One I was watching this show called was it California? Huell Hauser. Anybody watch California Gold and Huell Hauser? He always goes, "That's amazing." Um, Anyway, he was interviewing like this guy, like Morty, and he was tailored to the stars. And he tailored all the clothes for the Rat Pack in Beverly Hills. And he was telling, like, he said, "Hey, Frank Sinatra." He says, "Frankie, you're putting on a little bit of weight." And his advice was to, when you go to the restaurant, to cut the portion in half. Like, so just ask your waiter. You don't need to eat everything that's on your plate. You can just cut it in half, and uh, and I think they say that in Weight Watchers as well. And so that's what you do. Is like when I go to a restaurant, I took that advice when I'm doing good. When I would go to the restaurant, I would just ask for the box right away, because I would cut the food in half, and I have to put it in the box and put it away, because I'm on a seafood diet. Anybody know what that is? Seafood? Anything you see, you eat. That's my seafood diet. And so out of sight, out of mind. That's what works for me. It's like step away from the food. Um, we do that sometimes. Yeah, yeah, that helps too. Yeah, and it's best. That's one of the things I put down here is like I'm doing it alone. It is helpful to do that. So that's portion control, different tactics. By the way, everybody's different. So what works for and I've done this before. I've lost weight, so I kind of know what works and what doesn't work. But some of you that are, if you're working on trying to improve sleep or time management, and you've never been good at s- sleep or time management, don't just assume that you know what the answers are. Do your research, and look into life hacks that are helpful. That you think might work for you. There's lots of stuff out there on the internet. You just have to be wary. All right, so too much fast food at the restaurant, so I'm just going to cut down. I told you about my um, too much sugar. That's again cut down. Um, Less time to cook. I'm going to make time. Um, Irregular exercise schedule. I'm going to put my workouts in the calendar. By the way, how many of you use a calendar for your time management? Sometimes you use it. It's it can be a very useful tool. For example, if you don't have enough, like I have executives that tell me that their employees want their time. They want to be able to spend time with their employees, and the executive's always like, "Well, I'm too busy." And I'm like, "Well, if it's important, put time in your calendar. Like whatever it is, just 15 minutes every day. Wander around the office and talk to people before you go into your office and close the door. Just schedule that time because it's easy to get distracted, right? And then block it out as well. A lot of corporations they use Microsoft Outlook, and you can see other people's calendars, and if you see it's open, people just grab it and block it out, and by default, Microsoft Outlook defaults to an hour for a meeting, so you'll have like 7 hour-long meetings that probably could have all taken place in about 15 minutes during the day. But your day can get filled up really quickly if you don't block out time that's important. Um, so lower intensity workouts, so I'll just have to increase. I used to do it was in this master's swim program, and I had a coach, and that was helpful. To have somebody stay on top of you and time you and keep you honest. All right, questions so far? Um, you don't have to have a whole bunch. You know, two or three things. It just depends on what you're doing. You know, but so let's jump back over to the goal measures, and let's convert these into measures. So we've talked about these kind of in general terms and qualitative terms. Now let's talk about these in terms of making it concrete. How are we going to measure, that you are making progress toward your goal? And how often are you going to measure that? And how are you going to do it? So let's answer that question. So we're talking about weight, and one of my goals is to, get down, lose 20 pounds. So what measure am I going to use? If I want to measure progress towards how well I'm doing on losing weight, what will be the measure? Weight, right? The measure is weight in pounds. We use pounds here in this part of the world. We are still on the imperial system. The rest of the world is on metric.
They're all so.
Well, I remember as a kid looking forward to the metric system becoming adopted in the United States in 1976, when we were all going to move towards a metric system, moving, getting ready. We were learning it in classes, and everything was moving towards the metric system. And then at the last minute, they were like, "Oh no!" People just they because we are we are slow to change. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why it happened. I just think that
Doesn't even matter.
we're like we're America. You know, we kind of make the rules. So
America.
yeah, yeah, I think that was kind of it. But that might be a good, since we're talking about measures, that might be a good extra credit project.
Better than anything.
So that's one thing. How else am I going to measure progress? So I talked about fitness, um, improve fitness. So how would I measure that? That might be. Um, so I looked into that. because I didn't know. How do you measure fitness? How do you measure fitness? How do you
You can do fitness tests.
a fitness test? Okay, so what would be a fitness test?
How
Uh,
fast you could run 3 miles or something like that. You can do lots of things like you can measure your max heart rate, like your VO2 max, things like that.
okay.
But I guess something simple is just time, like distance in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
To see if you can improve it.
Yeah. So that's what I'll do. And so I ride every other day. I kind of switch off. One day I'll swim, the other day I'll go to the gym and then ride the bicycle at the gym. And I'll ride it for like, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes for as fast as I can. And it tells you what your heart rate is, and it tells you the amount of calories that you burned and how long you've ridden it. Of course, kind of depends on how the intensity, all that, and records it. So one fitness test that I looked into was sort of how long the calories burned per minute. Like they said to go as fast as you can for a minute, but I do it for like 20 or 30 minutes. So I'm just going to go by calories per minute and then see, because I can kind of tell. It's not the only test, so we'll see. I'm going to use that as the measure, and I'm going to do it daily. By the way, actually in this case it's going to be every other day, but I'm just going to put down daily for this one, and then here's daily. And and then one more measure. Is weight the only good indicator of health? Inches. Inches is another one, like kind of measures body fat, and so I know I've had the same belt since I've been in shape, since I got out of shape, and so I keep having to. It was always like 3 notches in, and now it's all the way on the notch out. So I'm just going to go by belt notches on, because I'm pretty basic. I put a belt on just about every day, so I can keep track of that. Um, so I'm going to say belt notches. Um, and I'll just call it weekly. I don't expect to see big, huge differences because how big how much difference is there between notches on a belt, do you think? Half an inch? I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. I'll have to look. Um, it's a pretty crude measure, but and the point is that I just want you guys that it doesn't have to be like super accurate. Like um, some people may have access to like body fat meters, where you grab the handles. We were talking about that. They have those at Crunch Fitness in the front desk there. So, but any of you use Fitbit or iPhone? There you go. iWatch, Android. There's a lot of apps that will track different things. iPhones will track screen time. Um, Fitbits, track all your, practically all your bodily functions, including sleep. Um, if you set it up right. What else? There's also apps that you can put on your desktop for like time management. I've used one called Rescue Time, where it tracks all your different apps that you're doing because you're not just using your iPhone, right? It's you're using your screen, and it'll classify them into productive and unproductive time. And it's amazing when you get the feedback how much it can have an impact on your behavior. So when you start to see how much time that you're spending on Facebook or whatever. Um, all right, so I'm going to get rid of these guys here. Okay, so now we have 3 outcome measures, and this is going to allow me to figure out how well I'm doing against my goal, right? Well, it's also important to track not only the outcome, your result, but isn't it not also important how you get the result? How you get your results? Isn't it important as well? Do you ever think about that? Kind of the process. Um, so I'm just going to note here, wait, I'm going to use my scale, the scale in the bathroom. Why is that even important? that I well, I should ask you, why is it important that I only use the scale in the bathroom? Because so it's consistent, so it's reliable, right? Have you ever gone to the doctor and the scale? I swear my doctor's scale is 10 pounds over what my scale is, right? It's different, or you go to the gym and it's a different measure. So you have to be consistent in the measure, even if it's not 100% accurate, right? So it's better to be consistent in this case. And remember we were talking last week and the week before about the different types of measures. We talked about NOIR as the acronym. You guys remember what the NOIR stands for? The four different types of measures, quantitative measures. N. All right. Let's see. I have it right here. So remember, this is kind of like a taxonomy. This is a taxonomy of data, and there's qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative is, descriptive, and in fact, the root cause analysis. This really is an example of qualitative analysis, right? We're using words, but you're still thinking, right? So this is, if you're stranded on a desert island, would you rather have this tool or an Excel spreadsheet with no electricity, right, to solve a problem? So this is still a useful tool, and it can lead to quantitative analysis. So some of these things we're going to quantify, and so they're not independent. They're interrelated to one another, and they kind of both pieces of information um, is interesting. So when we break down the quantitative, there's discrete things like whole objects, and then there's continuous things like that you can measure, right? Against, using a tape measure or whatever. Um, you can break down the discrete and the continuous data into nominal and ordinal, right? That's the NOI, and nominal is, how do you say name in Spanish? Nombre, right? So nominal is the NOM. It's naming something, right? So gender, race, blood type, that sort of thing. The color, they don't have any value associated with it. One's not greater than the other. So that's nominal data. It's something you name. Ordinal is the next step up. Bless you. Um, can anybody think of an example of ordinal data? How about your year in school? Yeah, small, medium, large. That's a good example. When you go to the movie theater, there's small, medium, and large, which is the small is a large, the medium is huge, and and large is ludicrous. All right, so that's ordinal. Interval's like my belt loop, right? Because they're specific notches, and in a way, it's a measure. They're equal measures apart, right? So we know that one belt loop notch is 3/4 or an inch apart from the next belt loop. So that's an example of interval. There's no absolute zero in that case. And then ratio means that there is an absolute zero, and it's something that you would measure. You can divide into it. So there are things like height, weight, calories, all those measures that we usually think of when we're looking at data. All right, so it's important to know these different types of data because you're going to need at least a few discrete variables and a few continuous variables for your project. Questions on the review?
So if one of the things that's one of your goals are saving money
Yep.
and the amount of deposits you make, would that fall under nominal?
What do you guys think? Is money nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio? Yeah, interval. Well, is there an there is an absolute zero. You could have no savings. No deposit. So there's an absolute zero, and you can divide by it, right? You can have a fraction of it. So it's a measure. Yeah. So it's ratio. Yeah. It's interval data with an absolute value of zero. So it's just kind of like these are all like one step above one another, starting with nominal. Other questions? So the scale in the bathroom, weight, is that nominal? Is that ordinal, interval, or ratio? Sometimes the answer is right in front of you. Ratio. Fitness test. Calories divided by minute. I'm going to say it's ratio because we can divide. Belt notches. What is it? Interval. Interval. I think that's the right answer. It's interval. Okay, so now we have these different measures and we figured them out for our outcome. And we need to move back to the things that are going to cause us from our cause and effect diagram to get there. So remember we have these solutions. So I have portion control cutting down. This one was sugar, the other was just calories. Making time. Yes. It's in it'll be in today's slide. So week 5, day 1. I think these were in. They've been in a few slide decks. They were in definitely in week 3 and 4 as well. Yeah, so they're in there a few times. All right, so some solution metrics. If if I'm going to cut down, actually, I need to see. Move over here. If I'm consuming too many calories and I'm going to use portion control as a way, how am I going to measure whether or not I'm using portion control? How would I do that? Weigh the food? Okay. That's one way to do it. I used to see my mom do that in Weight Watchers. She had this little scale out. Actually, um, when my grandma would come over, she would always bring these bag of M&Ms, and it was just me and my sister. And so I would use the scale to make sure, and because it was weight, and we would make sure that we had equal amounts. I would weigh the M&Ms into two equal portions so it was fair. Otherwise, we would steal each other's M&Ms. um, so how would I could weigh it out. I could also count. Part of it is well, yeah. So I can count my port. Did I use portion control, right?
You're answering all of those questions.
Yeah, and I can. It's easy to keep track of this in my little journal that you'll see. We're going to create in a minute. So did I use portion control? Like yes or no?
It's the same question for each for everything.
No, it's not. Um,
Yeah.
how many? So on fast food restaurants, if I want to cut down, I mean, there are some days that I eat every single meal at a fast food restaurant. I'm afraid to admit. No one else in here has ever done that. Had breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a fast food. No, like at different restaurants over the course of a day. Like not eat. Yeah. All right, so this is not like true confessions. It's just, we're talking about. So I can count, Vincent. I can count how many fast food meals I ate.
What I'm confused is that I have the same question for each of them. So why do I have to answer? Am I gonna have different answers for each of these questions?
You're going to have different answers for different solutions, different questions for different solutions.
So
Right. So you're going to have more than one solution, whatever it is you're trying to. What are you thinking about doing?
am I making the question?
Yes, you're going to be filling this out.
Oh,
This is
okay.
just my example,
Okay, I
right?
see.
You're not doing, unless you're doing the same thing if you're trying to lose weight, which you don't look like you need to lose weight.
Well, I was thinking about doing that because I'm doing a sport. So like, I just want to like lose weight, but not a whole lot, but gain more muscle.
More muscle fitness, right? So you want to be more fit. So something similar. You might be doing different things. You might be doing like new exercises, or also maybe increasing the intensity of exercises. We'll get to that in a second. Um, right. So does that make sense? So I'm going to cut down on the fast food, too much sugar. I'm going to, how am I going to figure that one out? Um, oh, I know. So normally when I eat sugar, it's not during the day, it's like late at night. Um, and, it's dessert. So anybody ever eat dessert?
I think I have a Magnum bar like at 10 o'clock.
Magnum bar. Oh, those are good. Yeah. Yeah. Ice cream bars, cookies. It doesn't matter. Whatever's in the house. So I'm going to count. Um, two S's, right? It shouldn't be count, but maybe there's more than one dessert. I was like, well, no, that first one didn't really count. I had to share that with my daughter. Um, all right, so no time to cook. Um, I can track um, whether or not um, I made breakfast, lunch, dinner. By the way, so I can make lunch and breakfast in the morning. Obviously, breakfast in the morning, but lunch as well to take with. But I never, used to never do that because it takes time, right? It takes like, and I got to make it for my kids, and so what do you do if you don't have enough time to make lunches? Do meal prep. Yeah, I could do things like that, or I can set my alarm 20 minutes earlier, and just get up earlier and make the breakfast. So it's things like that. So I'm going to track though whether or not I'm doing that. It's got to be convenient. It has to do with convenience, right? It's all about convenience in our lives. And irregular exercise schedule, put workouts in the calendar. Well, that's like once I do that. All right. How about did I stick to the calendar or schedule, exercise schedule? That'd be kind of a yes no kind of. So a lot of these are just yes no questions. Is yes no nominal, ordinal, nominal or ordinal? Nominal. It's like binary, 0 or 1, right? Yes, one, yes or no. And then workout intensity. So I'm going to increase the intensity, and how can I measure that? So I can estimate the calories burned during exercise. right now, Marymount is encouraging all the employees. They always have these fitness things. I think it's called Accelerate. They're asking us to enter data and to enter these teams like and watch our calories and that sort of thing. And um, so you can estimate the calories that you burn. So I know that if I swim a certain number of yards at a certain level of intensity, you can estimate how many calories that burns. And when I ride the bicycle, for sure, that tells me exactly how many calories I burned. You know, so so I can estimate the amount of calories, and if I'm increasing that amount, either by lengthening the time or increasing the intensity during that same amount of time, then I'm going to be getting better, right? So all these are going to be daily. Uh, so by the way, if I wanted to just copy daily all the way down, when I have these are formatted tables. They're not actually not tables; they're ranges. But I formatted these so we could easily see what's on each line. What happens if I just drag daily on down? It copies it, and you know what else it copies? The formatting. And I don't like that. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to click on the famous undo button up here. And if I wanted to copy that pattern, and I'm going to highlight both of these now, and now drag it on down, and it'll keep the pattern the same. All right, so how am I going to collect the data? Well, we don't really need to figure all these out for right now. So questions, there's one more step, and then we'll be done. I'll let you start creating your own worksheet. But questions so far, Victoria? No, you get it from your solutions. So like portion control, yeah. So like these solutions are related to the measures. Like if I'm going to use portion control as a solution, how am I going to measure, how am I going to track whether or not I'm doing that on a daily basis? Right? So, by the way, I belong to Crunch Fitness and I belong to all these fitness centers and have been going to these places for years. Every year around New Year's time, right after New Year's, what do? They, they $1 sign up so they get. And why does everybody go to the gym? New Year's resolutions. What percentage of people actually do you think complete their New Year's resolutions? What is it? 10%? Yeah. It's like hardly anybody does it. And why do you think that is? They give up? They didn't plan it right? Lofty goals. Yeah, unreasonable goals. Right? So it's too big. It's such a insurmountable task. They're not using Kaizen, right? They're not thinking about continuous improvement. And so they often, they'll have these big posters and people write their goals down and they say, I want to have the shredded body or I want to be able to, look like this model or whatever and all these kinds of things. And the problem with those are not unreasonable goals. At least to have an image in your head of like where you want to be. But the reality is that you have to think more important. What's more important is the goal or how are you going to get there? Yeah. So it's how you're going to get there, right? So the goal shouldn't be to necessarily have that. The goal should be get your ass to the gym every day. That should be your goal. That's the hardest part is just, getting there and doing it and being consistent at it. Right? So that's kind of what these solution measures are to do is to keep track of whether or not you're doing the thing that's going to get you to the result. It's just as important as the result itself, right? We often think only about the results, but not how we're going to get there. So this is how you're going to get there and keeping track of it, keeping you honest. Make sense? Okay, so now here is the last step, and we need to take all this information and figure out how we're going to track this. And we're going to create a little data, I call it a data journal. And so we want to take these measures here because these are the actual measures we're going to be using, the solution measures as well, the goal measures and the solution measures, and put it into this data journal database. But we have to do something a little tricky with this. So I'm going to highlight cells F1 to F4 and copy them and click on the data journal worksheet, little tab down at the bottom. And I'm going to paste it, but don't paste it yet because we're going to paste it in a very special way. So I'm going to highlight cell B1 because that's where I want those cells to go. And I'm going to click on the down arrow of paste, and we're going to transpose the cells. Because remember here in this database, see how they go up and down? We want them to go across. So I'm going to make sure, yeah, I'm going to go back to the data journal, and I'm going to click paste, and down here is where transpose is. So I click on that, and I don't know what that means. So we have those things, goal measures, the weight, fitness, and belt notches up here these are going to become columns, but I can't see them. So I want to fix these. Let me hit escape, and it won't let me. Here we go. I'm going to highlight these. Not sure. Sorry, I'm experiencing technical difficulties. Copying these. Anybody having the same issue? And then pasting them. It's not letting me. There we go. No. Copy. Maybe this, the recording. You should record. So if I just started, if you started today and went to April 30th, that would be almost 80 days worth of, let's see, I got 79 rows here. So I would suggest that you have a minimum of 30 data points, 30 days worth of data. So that doesn't mean that you have to collect data every single day on every single thing, but the more data points, the better. And I would also suggest I was kind of kidding about the baseline thing, but you do want to kind of establish an initial period. So like whatever it is, 3 or 4 or 5 days before you start to change anything, in earnest, so you can show a before and after picture. Because I'll ask you to add another variable here. These are, by the way, when I talk about variables, anything in a header is considered a variable, right? Because in a database, all these things will vary on any given day. My weight's going to vary, hopefully, right? Go down in the right direction. They're called variables. That's what in data analysis is a common term. Other questions? That was a good one, Victoria. All right. So